Namaskar, welcome the indigenous people of Assam as a whole. On behalf of Assam Sanmilita Mahasangha, the Indigenous People Confederation of Assam, today I am going to discuss about the Treaty of Yeandaboo. What are the articles written in the treaty? I will elaborately discuss about all the articles which are written in the Treaty of Yeandaboo. I think by knowing these articles, the indigenous people can take their own decision. How can they proceed for protection of the indigenous people rights as the self-determination, the land rights, the political rights. Treaty of Yeandaboo, February 24, 1826. Treaty of Peace between the Honorable East India Company on the one part and His Majesty the King of Ava on the other, settled by Major General Sir Archibald Campbell, KCB and KCTS, commanding the expedition, and Senior Commissioner in Pegu and Ava, Thomas Campbell Robertson, Civil Commissioner in Pegu and Ava, and Henry Deussage, Captain, commanding His Britannic Majesty's and Honorable Company's naval force on the Irrawaddy River on the part of the Honorable Company, and by Mingi Maha Men Lah Kian Ten Ungi, Lord of Lekaing, and Mingi Maha Lah Thu Ha Thu Atwen Un, Lord of the Revenue, on the part of the King of Ava, who have each communicated to the other their full powers, agreed to and executed at Yeandaboo in the Kingdom of Ava on this 24th day of February in the year of our Lord 1826, corresponding with the 4th day of the decrease of the Muntabung in the year 1187 Goduma era 1826. Article 1. There shall be perpetual peace and friendship between the Honorable Company on the one part and His Majesty the King of Ava on the other. Article 2. His Majesty the King of Ava renounces all claims upon and will abstain from all future interference with the Principality of Assam and its dependencies, and also with the contiguous petty states of Kasar and Jaintia. With regard to Manipur, it is stipulated that should Gambhir Singh desire to return to that country, he shall be recognized by the King of Ava as Raja thereof. Article 3. To prevent all future dispute respecting the boundary line between the two great nations, the British government will retain the conquered provinces of Arakan, including the 4 divisions of Arakan, Ramri, Sedua, and Sandue, and His Majesty the King of Ava sits all right thereto. The unknown Pectomane or Arakan Mountains, known in Arakan by the name of the Yamuntung or Pakhinglong Range, will henceforth form the boundary between the two great nations on that side. Any doubts regarding the said line of demarcation will be settled by commissioners appointed by the respective governments for that purpose. Such commissioners from both powers to be suitable and corresponding rank. Article 4. His Majesty the King of Ava ceds to the British government the conquered provinces of Yeh, Tavoy, Margui and Tenasserim with the islands and dependencies thereunto appertaining, taking the Salween River as the line of demarcation on that frontier. Any doubts regarding their boundaries will be settled as specified in the concluding part of Article 3. Article 5. In proof of the sincere disposition of the Burmese government to maintain the relations of peace and amity between the nations, and as part indemnification to the British government for the expenses of the war, His Majesty the King of Ava agrees to pay the sum of 1 crore of rupees. Article 6. No persons whatever, whether native or foreign, is hereafter to be molested by either party on account of the part which he may have taken or have been compelled to take in the present war. Article 7. In order to cultivate and improve the relations of amity and peace hereby established between the two governments, it is agreed that accredited ministers retaining an escort or safeguard of 50 men from each shall reside at the darbar of the other, who shall be permitted to purchase or to build a suitable place of residence, of permanent materials, and a commercial treaty upon principles of reciprocal advantage with the entered into by the high contracting powers. Article 8. All public and private debts contracted by either government or by the subjects of either government with the others previous to the war to be recognized and liquidated upon the same principles of honor and good faith as if hostiles had not taken place between the two nations, and no advantage shall be taken by either party of the period that may have elapsed since the debts were incurred or in consequence of the war, and according to the universal law of nations, it is further stipulated that the property of all British subjects who may die in the dominions of His Majesty the King of Ava shall, in the absence of legal heirs, be placed in the hands of the British resident or consul in the said dominions, who will dispose of the same according to the tenor of the British law. In like manner, the property of Burmese subject dying under the same circumstances in any part of the British dominions shall be made over to the minister or other authority delegated by His Burmese Majesty to the Supreme Government of India. Article 9. The King of Ava will abolish all exactions upon British ships or vessels in Burma port that are not required from Burma ships or vessels the British ports, nor shall ships or vessels the property of British subjects, whether European or Indian,
entering the Rangoon River or other Burman ports be required to land their guns or unship their redress, or to do any other act not required of Burmese ships or vessels in British ports. Article 10. The good and faithful ally of the British government, His Majesty the King of Siam, having taken a part in the present war, will do the fullest extent as far as regards His Majesty and his subjects. He included in the above treaty. Article 11. This treaty to be ratified by the Burmese authorities competent in the like cases, and ratification to be accompanied by all British, whether European or Native American, and other prisoners who will be delivered over to the British commissioners. The British commissioners on their part engaging that the said treaty shall be ratified by the Right Honourable the Governor General in Council, and the ratification shall be delivered to His Majesty the King of Ava in 4 months or sooner if possible, and all the Burmese prisoners shall in like manner be delivered over to their own governments as soon as they arrive from Bengal. Signed, Largin Mionza Wonghi, Seal of the Lutu, Swagun Un Atwen Un, and other side, Archibald Campbell, Major General L.S., T.C. Robertson, Civil Commissioner L.S., A.D. Such, Captain Royal Navy L.S. Additional Article. The British Commissioners, being most anxiously desirous to manifest the sincerity to their wish for peace and to make the immediate execution of the 5th article of this treaty as little irksome or inconvenient as possible to His Majesty the King of Ava, consent to the following arrangements with respect to the division of the sum total as specified in the article before referred to into installment, namely upon the payment of 25 lakhs of rupees or 1/4 of the sum total, the other articles of the treaty being executed. The army will retire to Rangoon upon the further payment of a similar sum at that place within 100 days from this date. With the provisions as above, the army will evacuate the dominions of His Majesty the King of Ava with the least possible delay, leaving the remaining money of the sum total to be paid by equal annual installment in 2 years from this 24th day of February 1826 AD through the Council of Resident in Ava or Pegu on the part of the Honourable the East India Company. Signed by Largin Mionza Wongi, Seal of the Lutu, Swagun Un Atwen Un, other side Archibald Campbell, Major General T.C. Robertson, Civil Commissioner, R. Henry D. Such, Captain Royal Navy. Ratified by the Governor General in Council at Fort William in Bengal this 11th day of April in the year of our Lord 1826. Signed by Armhurst, Combermere, J. H. Harrington, and W. B. Bailey. Now I can analyze that in this treaty it is not mentioned clearly that by the Treaty of Yeandaboo, British occupied the territory of Assam. In this treaty, second article, it is clearly mentioned that Assam, Jaintia, Kasar become free due to Treaty of Yeandaboo from the hands of Abha or the Burmese. But sorry to say that before the Treaty of Yeandaboo, the British government clearly said 1824 February by George Swinton, then British India political secretary. He clearly said that although by our expulsion of the Burmese from the territory of Assam, the country would of right become ours by conquest, the Governor General in Council does not contemplate the permanent annexation of any part of it, means Assam, to the British Dominion. On that basis, the senior commissioner David Scott also clearly stated that by a proclamation, David Scott also declaring that we are not led into your country by the thirst of conquest, but are forced in our own defense to deprive our enemy of the means of annoying us. We will never consent to deport until we exclude our foe from Assam and re-establish a government adapted to your wants and calculated to promote the happiness of all classes. So now we can say that after the Treaty of Yeandaboo, British itself violated their commitment before the Treaty of Yeandaboo that they will not occupy or they will not establish any British dominion under Assam. But we see that after the Treaty of Yeandaboo, British violated their own commitment and forcefully occupy Assam and started colonial regime. And we see that at that time our indigenous leaders also not discuss the problem what is faced by the indigenous people with the British authority. So it is also a very bad thing. We see that our forefathers should discuss about the Treaty of Yeandaboo with the Britishers, but it is not take place, and so British also forcefully occupied Assam and started colonial regime. And after starting the colonial power established in Assam, they brought different communities to Assam to run the British administration and business and other causes. Lots of foreigners brought to Assam, and when British left Assam in 1947, 15 August, these people which are brought by the Britishers, they remain in Assam, and this is the main basic problem of Assam. There are lakhs of foreigners brought by the Britishers and left Britishers not taking any decision about these foreigners. So after 1947, 15 August, British left India and Assam, and accordingly all the foreigners are treated as Indian citizen in Assam. It is the horrible thing which are faced by the indigenous people, and it is not happen anywhere in the world. British occupied half of the area, we can say, world different countries captured by the Britishers and starting the colonial regime. But other colonial areas, British not taking this type of think that foreigners are brought to other colonial areas, but we see only in Assam the British brought different foreigners to Assam from as East Bengal, West Bengal, Bengali Hindus and the Bengali Muslims, and from different areas of now India. At that time they are also foreigners area, as because of Assam is an independent country. So at that time different areas of India, from there also different communities brought by the British to the Assam. British started the infiltration own purpose, and till today we are facing this infiltration Bangladesh and Nepal. It is a great mistake of our forefathers, and due to this mistake that they have not taken any initiative to settle this problem with the British, and British left India and Assam, and till today we are facing the infiltration foreigners problem. The Supreme Court itself said that these are the silent aggression of foreigners continuing in Assam from Bangladesh and Nepal. It is the great tragedy of Assam.